I like when you press that one.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblum, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on sportstalksc.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. It's a Wednesday night, making our way back towards Columbia, stopping off at our Atlanta studios on the way home from Birmingham, Mountain Brook, Alabama. Today, SEC tip-off 2023, with the Gamecocks were voted last in the preseason poll by a select group of media and others. It wasn't a complete group of media. It was a select group of media. I was not selected. Chris was not selected. Pat was not selected. In fact, I don't know anybody who was selected, but those who were selected voted not for the Gamecocks to finish any higher than 14th, which is okay. You set the bar kind of low. You keep the expectations down, and you overachieve. I think that's the way you look at it. If you're Lamont Paris in your first season with the Gamecocks, we had a chance to listen to Lamont Paris up on the main stage. We had a chance to do a little interview, little gaggle interview with him as well. And the more I hear from him, the more impressed I am every time. There's no question the man knows basketball. I think he knows character. I think he knows people. And I think now the question is, can he get the quality players good enough to elevate the Gamecocks in the SEC, or players good enough to run his system and then run his system well enough to where they can beat teams and become competitive in the SEC? We shall see. Complete opposite for the men compared to the women. The women, of course, number one in the country, number one in the SEC, and the men, quite the opposite. But, the polls don't always predict exactly how these teams are going to finish correctly, and it's all about going out and playing the games and staying healthy, and maybe some guys playing above what you expect them to play, the level you expect them to play at. We're going to hear from Paris coming up here in just a few minutes. We've got a very busy show tonight. As I mentioned, I'm in at our Atlanta studios. We have Pat Daniel at our Dave and Buster studio in Columbia, Chris Bergen from the Sardis studio in Sardis, of course. And coming up at 6:35, we'll have Chalk Talk with Chuck Reedy, Ellis Johnson. Can't wait to pick apart their fertile brains on what happened this past weekend, what's coming up this coming weekend. 7:05, we have the coaches for the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl for this year joining us, Coach Robin Bacon, Coach Justin Gentry. Today, the rosters for the two teams were announced. We'll go over those rosters here in a little bit, or maybe once they join us, and then we'll hear from the coaches, get their thoughts on their respective teams. It's an SC Wild night tonight as well at 7:35. We'll have the Major Billy Downer joining us, and he'll have Charles Ruth with him again. Charles, of course, is the deer man. They're going to talk about deer antler scoring. So if you're a deer hunter, it's a must-listen to SC Wild tonight. Of course, every edition of SC Wild is a must-listen to edition of SC Wild. So we got plenty going on. We got the baseball playoffs going on as well. San Diego and Philadelphia, they are playing game 2 of the National League Championship Series out in San Diego. They're in the top of the 5th, and Philadelphia is leading, looking to go up 2-0. Phillies are up 4-2, and tonight it's, of course, those lovable, huggable, squeezable New York Yankees against the cheaters, the villains, the no-goods, the Houston Astros. Game 1 of the American League Championship Series. I had quite the night last night, Chris. Quite the night.
How so?
And some people might hear that and go, somebody went out partying, right? No. Quite the night for me personally, is the Yankees winning, the Celtics winning, and the Lakers losing. To me, that is a formula for a great night. I don't know about anybody else. That's just my own personal formula. So I had quite the night last night.
I understand. Pull for the Celtics with their philandering coach out of the mix now. So I'd be curious to see how they
Well,
they handle things this year.
now, is it philandering if you're in an open marriage? Does that count as philandering? I mean, okay, go ahead. I'm not going to get into that.
Really, we want to go down that road. I'm not sure we want to touch on that. And especially with it being the owner's wife, that was some of the allegations that were
Speculation.
alleged.
It's pure speculation.
Yep. That was alleged. So, and then also the Yankees have proven one thing to me. They're the only team that I will root for the Houston Astros against. You and all your Yankees fans have turned me against pulling for anybody else but the Astros because they cheat and they were brazen about it. Mm-hmm. But because they're playing the Yankees, I've got to pull for the Astros. So you've turned me into this, Phil.
Well, that's just
you
guys.
Mean.
That's just cold.
All you people that pull for the Yankees. I mean, you bandwagon jumpers. And I qualify you as
I was born a Yankee fan. I grew up right across the street from Yankee Stadium in the Bronx.
You're a South Carolinian. I don't understand how you pull for all the northern teams. You don't have one southern team that you pull for.
I have relatives up there. I have connections.
But you're a Latin native. You're a proud Latin native.
I guess I was just lucky that way that I happen to have Yankee, Celtic, Packer blood in me. Secretariat, Muhammad Ali, Arnold Palmer. What else can I tell you? I don't know why people call me a front runner, Richard Petty. So anyway, you listened to what Lamont Paris had to say today as well. Your take on what the Gamecocks' first-year coach had to say, and also the task ahead for him.
Well, clearly he's got his work cut out for him at South Carolina to try and put that into a rebuilding mode. But Gamecock fans, if you have not heard, forget that, basketball fans, period, whether you like USC or not, go listen to what Lamont Paris had to say. It's all up on our website at sportstalksc.com. I was blown away by his comments. And Pat talked about this when he went over a week or so ago with regards to USC's local media day. Pat was there for us, and he said the same thing. We don't know a whole lot about Lamont Paris, but when you listen to him speak and the things he says, and it's sort of got Finn is trying to get out of the room, and I can't let him outside. So if you hear scratching in the background, that's him.
All right.
But Lamont Paris, if you listen to what he has to say and sort of get past he's not one of these rah-rah coaches that will go out and say things just to win a press conference. He actually addresses what he believes is the winning formula for basketball. And it was funny in his big meeting in the main room today, he talked about some of the coaches that have influenced him. And clearly, Bo Ryan was going to be the first and foremost, having worked under him at Wisconsin. But he also brought up Gary Edwards at Francis Marion. Those two actually worked together at IUP early in both of their careers. And I talked to Coach Edwards a little bit earlier this afternoon. And one of the things I asked him was, what do you think of the hire? And he told me flat out, if Gamecock fans will give him time, he will build a winner in Columbia, because this is a guy who knows basketball, who understands what you have to do. He's gone through two separate rebuilding projects in his career, most notably at UT Chattanooga. And voting them last is just easy. It's lazy to me. As long as Georgia is in the SEC, South Carolina is not going to finish last in men's basketball. They dominate Georgia. When's the last time USC finished last? Was it Darren Horn's final year when they went 2-14?
Probably so. I'd have to go back and check the record,
but
that's probably it. Yeah,
it's got to be the last time USC finished last in the SEC. And with G.G. Jackson and some of the talent they have, I just don't see this as a team that is going to finish, dead last in the SEC. That being said, they've got to go out and prove me wrong, or prove me correct, I guess, and go out and play well. But I was just blown away by what he had to say about building the team and how he likes the way his team is starting to come together and what he looks for in terms of trying to develop a player. And it was interesting listening to him talk about skills, and he wants guys that can shoot. He said, I don't care who scores the points. The only thing I can tell you for sure is I won't score any points. I don't care who we have as a leading scorer. I just want to make sure our team scores a bunch of points and does what they're supposed to do. And I thought he handled himself extremely well in his first SEC media day. And I just think it is a lazy, easy vote by the committee, who probably doesn't watch any college basketball and probably could not tell you who's on USC's roster, with the exception of G.G. Jackson. And they just assume new coach overturning the roster, they've got to be the worst team in the league. I don't see them finishing dead last in the SEC this year. I really don't.
All right. By the way, the USC women picked up a commitment today. We'll have recruiting coming up for you in a little bit. But the USC women get their second commitment for the 23 class. Tessa Johnson, 5'10", out of Minnesota. She is like the best player in that state, a nationally regarded prospect. So she commits to Dawn Staley, who's putting together that's two commitments in the class for 2023 and putting together another outstanding class, no question about it. All right. So we want to go to the break. We're very tight tonight. We got to stay on schedule to get everything out to you properly. This is a good night just to sort of kick back, maybe pop open a cold one, and just enjoy listening to what we bring you tonight here on Sports Talk. So after the break, we'll hear from Lamont Paris from today's sessions at the SEC tip-off, his first one, of course, with the Gamecocks. Then Chalk Talk with Chuck Reedy, Ellis Johnson, recruiting to follow that. Then at 7:05, the attention to the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl with the head coaches, and we'll go over those rosters as well. So we have got a busy show, not to mention, of course, 7:35, another great edition of SC Wild for you here on the Sports Talk Media Network. We'll hit this break, and we'll be right back to hear from Coach Paris.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff program.
Show your team pride wherever you go with Founders Federal Credit Union's collegiate debit cards. Get your University of South Carolina and Clemson University debit cards at any Founders office or by calling 1-800-845-1614. Plus, our debit cards are digital wallet ready, so you can pay however you please. Not a member? Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
Hey, this is Major Billy Downer with DNR, and coming up tonight at 7:30, another edition of SC Wild on the Sports Talk Radio Network.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
Think big. Life-changing. I'm talking education. Inventive. Next-level education. Wake up. For 20 years, education has received billions in funding. Where, you ask? Right here, across our state, in your own backyard. Who has done this? Well, if you've ever played the lottery, that would be you. Thank you. The South Carolina Education Lottery. When you play, we all win.
A reminder, whenever we get the phone calls here on Sports Talk. Our phone number, 888-898-2525. That is the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. And more than $999 million in lottery proceeds have been used to support K through 12 programs in South Carolina. Learn more about the lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/educationwins. Playing for fun is a win for education. Pat Daniel back at our Dave & Buster's studio in downtown Columbia, holding everything together. Be sure to eat, drink, play, catch the big playoff games tonight and throughout the rest of the playoffs, the big NFL games, the big college games, the NBA games, all of that, a whole bunch more. You can catch them all season long. Dave & Buster's in Greenville, in Columbia, and in Myrtle Beach. Well, we caught up with Lamont Paris. He talked to the general media in the main room for about 18 minutes. First thing this morning, he was the first coach up and in at 10 o'clock Eastern time. I had to get up at the crack of about 8:30, 8:15 Central time. That's Central time. Now, I'm on Central time, okay? I'm in the West, so I'm in Central time. I had to get up at the crack of about 8:15, but I made it there on time. But then later on, after he wrapped up everything, they were heading out. And along with Colin Taylor of Gamecock Central, got together with Coach Paris, and we asked him a few questions more directly about his basketball program. Here we go. Your message was being picked last. All that does is motivate you, and that motivation will bleed over to your players.
Yeah, somebody's got to be last. It's fine. It's what it is, you know. And like I said, I don't blame people, whatever. You see they're going to look at our roster, and they're going to, maybe they don't believe in me. I don't know. The beauty of it is we get to go out there, and the ball gets thrown up in the air every single game. And whatever somebody picked you before doesn't really affect the outcome of the game. So, but certainly for me, that's just who I am as a person. I'm motivated. Not that I need any extra, but I got a whole bag of chips on my shoulder. So hopefully the guys will also see that and not care too much, and this extra motivation to get in the gym and to listen better and to work harder and to perform ultimately at a higher level. So I don't think being picked 14 precludes any sort of successes. It's just where they pick you.
You have your scrimmage Saturday. Just what are you looking for from your team in that, and kind of what are you evaluating as you kind of watch some of that?
Yeah, just the first time we're playing against another team other than ourselves. We call it play out, 23 skidoo, we'll call it. And, everybody knows what 23 skidoo is, so it doesn't seem like it works as well. Looking forward just to playing against somebody else, and particularly against a team that's a good defensive team. I like in my scrimmages normally to go against somebody who's good defensively, so that then when whatever you achieve offensively, you have some real belief in that, and the guys know that it might be real. So we'll do that, and just, the whole, even how we warm up, practicing that before the first scrimmage, a little mini scouting report, all kinds of things that go in to this production of playing basketball games that you don't think about when you have, 15 new guys.
How's Ebo doing in terms of his recovery, and what's his role going to look like on this team?
Ebo's good. I'd hire him as an assistant coach right now if they'd let me. I just, as we practice and I hear him, I ask questions to the team in a live practice, and I'll hear it coming from him behind me, the right answer, of course. Yeah. This guy's been around so many games of basketball. He's so mature. He knows so much about the game. And so his role will be that. His role will be to see things and say things. And honestly, my job, I get paid to be a coach, and the guys know that, so they expect that I say things to them, whereas he's a teammate. And so when he says something, it's because not only does he see it, but he values it, and that it can help us. So I think his role is going to be very valuable. I don't want to diminish the role that he's going to have with this team at all.
Does he expect to be back with you next year?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think that's the plan. He's going to go back in. He's continued to rehabilitate and continue to try to get back to full go as soon as he can. And that's not it's an Achilles, so it's not a process that you can rush by any stretch of the imagination. So when he's ready, but absolutely he aspires to get back and play and compete. He came here for a reason. He's got a mission. This guy apologized to me after he got hurt because he wanted to help make my first year really special. And I know what he meant. He meant on the court, but a little unbeknownst to him, he's already done that by being here. So I'm pulling really hard for him to make a full recovery in a speedy enough time that he's ready to play basketball for the Gamecocks.
And I know everything will be fluctuating here early on, but what would a starting five look like for you today?
Well, a good question. It's hard. I don't like to let the cat out of the bag, so to speak, early on. But the new guys that we brought in have produced, and the older guys have produced. We have some young talent. Obviously, Gigi Jackson's going to be in the mix. I think all three of our freshmen are going to be in the mix. I don't know that many guys right now are 0-minute guys for us right now. I don't know if we have any, honestly. Some guys may work their way into that just based on another player is being really effective at this position and can play a lot of minutes at that position. So we'll just play that by ear, honestly. And, more importantly than what our starting five is our finishing five. I've always valued the five guys at the end of the game as a role that's more important than whoever starts the game.
And how do you handle Gigi in terms of, here's a guy that national acclaim, so much is expected out of him, but do you have to worry about putting too much on the shoulders of such a young guy?
I think you have to be constantly honest about where you are, what managing his expectations looks like, what his role can be, will be eventually, and what that time frame looks like. I've joked around about it in the video room with the guys even before about, they're going to pick us first because we got Gigi Jackson, with sarcastically I say that, and obviously that didn't happen, right? So we're not really focused on any of that, right? We all individually and then thus for collectively have to get better. Oh, it sounds like so cliche. We're here to get better today. No, we have to be. It can't be just talk. We have to be committed to improving, right? Because I don't know what November 8th looks like, right? And it's close. But I do have a vision of what January 20th looks like. And then what February 18th looks like, right? Like those are arbitrary dates. But I do think we have to be committed to a growth mindset and improving and not get discouraged the same way we wouldn't be elated. We're not going to win the national championship because we come out in the first game and beat South Carolina State, right? So therefore, if you come out and you don't play well and you lose to South Carolina State, heaven forbid, you must get better the next day. You have to be committed to getting better.
Gigi's obviously the big name in the front court, but how would you evaluate some of the other guys that you have, the Benjamin Bosmans, Verdonks, the Josh Grays, the TV Minuts? Where are they in their progress?
Yeah. I'd say Benjamin Bosman's Verdonk has probably made the most strides thus far. And in the last couple of weeks, some real strides in terms of everyone's trying to figure out how they can impact this team best, right? Everyone before they come here thinks it's by scoring a bunch of points. Everyone, just trust me, 15 guys think that. That's only going to be the role for one guy to be the leading scorer, right? And so I think he's really starting to hone in on how he can impact this game in a positive way. And that role, while it may not be as glamorous to someone else, is absolutely no less important. I always say it, Tom Brady's going to get a lot of credit. Someone snapped the ball to him and no one really knows that guy's name, but I don't see the game happening the same way without that guy. Mm-hmm. And so I value everyone's role. And so that role is a big role. And he's really working himself into a guy that is defining and accepting and thriving as a facilitator for us.
All right, Lamont Parrish, USC basketball coach. So we go into the basketball season, Chris. We got the Gamecocks picked 14th in the SEC. We got Clemson picked 11th in the ACC. Got the USC women number 1 in the SEC. The Clemson women were picked down low in the ACC preseason poll for the women. I think they were like 8th or 9th or something. So point is, not great expectations on the men's side going into the season.
No, and understandably. And I think Clemson, if P.J. Hall is able to go the entire season without re-aggravating his knee injury, I think they're going to be better. And I promise you, I really don't believe South Carolina is going to be the worst team in the SEC.
Well, you know what? You're probably right. I got to see how all these parts fit because they're all new with the Gamecocks. We got Chalk Talk coming up after the break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast, our coolest evening of the week with a frost warning and a low temp dropping down to 35. The sunshine continues tomorrow, and we start to warm back up to 67. Our high temp by Friday, we're back to 70. And the weekend, we get the mid-70s as a high temp. No rain in sight, lots of sunshine. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting COVID-19 drove a dramatic increase in the number of women who died from